Hey everyone, I'm Aaron. They call me Hamstrings. That's my identical twin brother, Adam. And, you know, he's aging like a fine wine. So here we are again for another Baseball Brewhaha. Got ourselves a cup of coffee and another daily baseball trivia fracas special edition today, folks. We've been telling you, add your comments below with ideas for trivia because we want to share those on the show. And not only are we doing that today, but we've got two of our subscribers who happen to be brothers, not twins, but, you know, we'll let it pass. And they're joining us today. That's Ross and Grant. So we're going to introduce, oh, here we go. Ross and Grant are in, and we'll let them introduce themselves a little bit by telling us, we've known Ross and Grant for quite some time, and either they've told me and I've forgotten, or they just wanted to keep it a secret. But could you guys explain your Texas Rangers fandom? Because my understanding is you guys grew up in Idaho.
We did grow up in Idaho, more or less, but more importantly, we grew up away from centers of baseball. So yeah, I was born in Dallas, so that is where the Rangers fandom comes from. But we lived in Alaska and Idaho, and there's no baseball to be had anywhere around there. So the Rangers were it. And the first baseball game I ever went to was at the old Arlington Stadium in probably 1985 or 1986. So that was where it came from for me. So
okay, Grant, you just got to pass down from Ross.
Exactly. Yep. All the family is in the Dallas area, and I never lived there, so you know, it's only been on TV.
And a few select games here and there when we get down there to see family. So, but it's MLB.TV has been a game changer for us. So,
yes, me too. Adam languishes because he's in market, but I'm out of market for my team, so I love it. So, well, this is already my favorite show. We haven't even done the whole show yet, so it's a pleasure to have Ross and Grant. We're going to dive into it here. Adam, you got a twin pack of questions. So
I sure do. Fitting for our show here. Well, and so Ross and Grant, we're not just Texas Rangers today. Ross and Grant thought there's got to be some Nelson Cruz trivia out there, so we're coming your way. I got my Nelson Cruz wine stopper for you, serving as our mascot today. So here's our question, though. We made an aging team of players that played in their age 42 season. We're trying to figure out which aging position player had the highest OPS in their age 42 season. And so here's our little roster. Might be a little tough to see on the eyes, but at catcher, we've got Carlton Fisk. First base, Albert Pujols. At both second and shortstop, Omar Vizquel, the only player to play at those positions at age 42. Darrell Evans at third base. And we've got Barry Bonds in left field, Carl Yastrzemski in center, and Matt Stairs in right field.
Did Yastrzemski play center field as a 42-year-old?
He did. a different time.
Well, I was going to say, did the Red Sox mail that year in?
I'd have to look up the year. So our stats, the reason we chose OPS is because Anthony Kastrovitz, who wrote this article here that's featured, asked players what the best stat is to judge value, because we're trying to figure out the most valuable age 42 season, because as we know, as players get older, they drop off in value. So for position players, it's OPS. That was the sort of go-to for players, got the most votes. So we're looking at 5 of our starters here. Which team 42 player, so this is age 42, our team, had the highest OPS? Barry Bonds, Nelson Cruz, Carlton Fisk, Albert Pujols, or Carl Yastrzemski?
All right, I'm going to kick it off here. I feel like the only answer should be Barry Bonds, but I didn't want to go that way. So instead, I went Albert Pujols. He played a lot against lefties and hit a bunch of home runs in his age 42 season. And so I'm going Pujols here, just sneaking in the back door with his OPS.
That's good. I thought about Albert Pujols, but I thought it might have been a trick answer, not knowing if it was his actual age 42 season or, you know, his birth certificate age 42 season. So I looking at the list, I had to go Barry Bonds. The only answer that I could believe in that group.
Grant holds a grudge. Let's be fair.
I do.
2011 was not a memorable year.
It was
we'll get to that.
Don't you worry.
I also went Barry Bonds on this one, and I'm the only one here who's 42 or above. Am I correct on this?
That's correct.
I'm not an athlete, obviously, but I know what it's like to be 42, and the only way you can perform at that age is with certain medications, help, and I'm thinking that Barry Bonds had that over, say, Carl Yastrzemski. Although Yaz might have been doing poppers in the dugout the whole time. So, but I went Barry Bonds on this one.
An unregulated era back then. I went Barry Bonds on this one too. I mean, this feels like the obvious answer for this one to me. So we've got 3 on Bonds. Aaron, you're at Pujols. Okay. Well, let's. Yeah. So we go to the notes. Our answer is Barry Bonds. That felt easy to me.
What was the OPS at 42?
It was 1.045. So he's
wow. Okay.
That would be leading the league.
Yeah.
So my goodness.
Yeah,
but by a healthy margin.
But he did not have the highest WAR of this group. That belonged to Carlton Fisk. Fisk and Bonds had the same offensive WAR, but Fisk was a much better defensive player, and so finished the season with a 4.9 WAR at 42. That's nuts.
Yeah, the catcher too, and it played. I mean, the era of catchers played just about every day, which just
they did, and there was none of that, down to one knee thing either. It was
yeah. All right. Well, we're moving on to our next question, our next segment here. We're playing defense. We can hit all day long. That's great, but we got to pitch too. So, we're looking at which aging pitcher threw the most innings in their age 42 season. And this one, again, from the same set of stats, the players said that at age 42, or really any age, if you can throw a lot of innings, you're the highest value to your team over all kinds of other stats. So, which makes sense. You get your starting pitcher hurt. That's a tough blow on a team. So our starting pitcher rotation here is Roger Clemens, Charlie Hough, Randy Johnson, Nolan Ryan, and Warren Spahn. So we're looking at which of those Team 42 pitchers threw the most innings in their age 42 season. Clemens, Hough, Johnson, Nolan Ryan, or Warren Spahn.
All right, I feel like since I botched the last one, I might as well be the first to botch this one too. So I'm going Nolan Ryan here. He pitched a lot, and even at 42, he was still going strong. This is old Texas Rangers here for you as well. So I'm going Nolan Ryan on this one.
Yeah, I also have to go Nolan Ryan on this one. When you look at the number of pitches he would throw in an outing, I mean, guys these days couldn't fathom throwing 200 pitches, and he did it multiple times into his 40s, by the way. So hard to believe that it was anybody else besides Nolan Ryan. Although, getting back to the extra enhancements, Clemens certainly might have had some help, but I'm going to go Nolan Ryan.
Well, and I want to believe it because Nolan Ryan was my hero, growing up. But at the same time, even further back, I'm torn between Charlie Hough, the greatest knuckleballer that I ever saw, or Warren Spahn, who pitched in an era before the bullpen really existed. Honestly, I mean, if you didn't throw a complete game in Warren Spahn's era, what were you? You know. So I'm torn on those, but I'm going to go with Charlie Hough because he was one of the first pitchers I ever saw, and a knuckleballer can throw all day without really getting tired. So.
Let's say he still have the elbow of a 23-year-old by age 42.
Exactly right. I don't know if I ever saw him throw a fastball. So
yeah, yeah. Well, if you couldn't throw a complete game back in Warren Spahn's day, you were probably Bruno Haas, featured on an earlier episode, who actually threw a complete game when he shouldn't have. But I'm going Nolan Ryan on this one as well. It felt like he's a guy I remember who threw a ton of innings, even late in his career. So we've got another 1 and 3 here. We got Nolan Ryan and Charlie Hough. Well, congratulations. Welcome to the club, Ross and Grant. You've made it on a show when we all got it wrong.
Yeah.
Clean sweep, Warren Spahn. Giving us the 0 for 4 day. 259.2 innings in his age 42 season. Nolan Ryan was second at 239.1 innings. The highest WAR, though, belonged to Clemens, who had a 7.8 WAR in his age 42 season.
It might have been in the Cy Young voting that year. So, but
yeah, well,
Warren Spahn's. I mean, I don't know if I watched 260 innings in a year. So that's good.
It's impressive.
Yeah. So I'm curious what you guys think. The players were asked in this, like, what's the most valuable stat? And offensively, it was OPS, and for pitching, it was innings. What do you all think about what's the most valuable stat, or what stat is most interesting to you, maybe?
Well, it used to be that I kind of miss the days when batting average just told us what we wanted to know, because it's more fun to watch a batter who's hitting the ball as opposed to just getting on base. But I think OPS is my favorite of the stats because it kind of includes what's your are you a singles hitter, or are you at least hitting doubles, and that's what I like. With pitching, I'm really falling in love with strikeout to walk ratio, and because the Rangers have been notorious at walks are just been our thing for about 40-something years now, and we get to watch Jacob deGrom, who has he's like 62 strikeouts to 3 walks so far this year. And boy, it's a lot more fun to watch when that's happening. So especially after tonight when they walked 6 in the 8th and 9th and lost a 4-run lead. So,
I was gonna say my understanding was the Rangers bullpen showed out tonight with the walks.
They showed up in the way that they only they can do. So
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it is odd to watch baseball in an era with hearkening to another former Ranger, Joey Gallo, who can hit sub 200 with an 800 plus OPS and be considered to be an extremely valuable player. So it's odd to see a guy like that. But OPS is definitely an interesting stat, I think, on the hitting side, and it's hard to argue with what the professionals say. And as a fan of the movie Moneyball, right, you just got to get on base, right? So that's probably the best. Yeah, that's right. So pitching wise, interesting. I still think ERA tells the story, right? I mean, for a pitcher, the higher your ERA means you're giving up runs with runners on base, right? And that tells a lot about who you are. So I still am a fan of ERA. that's a dated statistic, but I think it's still a really good one for pitchers.
Yeah, for me, I really like the OPS stat. One that's an interesting one. I'm going to throw out some stats here that I actually don't know much about, but as I hear more about them, I think they're kind of interesting. One is WRC, weighted runs created plus, is an interesting one. But Grant, to your point about Joey Gallo, watching Jesse Winker and Dylan Moore for the Mariners last year, and both of them were over league average in WRC plus. You just have to. It's puzzling. Your
eyeballs tell you different.
right, exactly. So that one is like, I like the stat. I like the stat when it feels like it makes sense, but I don't like it when it doesn't. But that's part of the fun of stats, is sometimes there's hidden stuff in there. There's value that they're trying to find that you don't see by just, you watch Jesse Winker and you're like, wow, this is painful. But the value is saying something different. Pitching wise, I tend to like ERA generally speaking, but a couple that I like, or I would say the one that I like is xERA, expected ERA, which takes into kind of neutralizes fielding and some other things that I don't really understand, which I probably just gave a terrible explanation of xERA anyway. But that one is kind of an interesting one to me as well.
And I'm into right now just straight up on base percentage to the Moneyball, example of he gets on base. Yeah. And I got into that watching my former student Corbin Carroll last year in the minor leagues. Just like literally run through the minor leagues with an OBP close to 500. And just like, I remember I was watching a game one time with Aaron. I said, watch what happens. He's going to walk and steal second base and score on the next play. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And so it's been fun watching him play, and because he's got some power, but he's more of an on-base guy and manufacture runs. And then for pitching, we did a show on Japanese-born pitchers, and we looked at fielding independent pitching, FIP, which comes out with a number that's similar to an ERA. That was kind of fun to calculate and to look at. So that's one that I've enjoyed. Is it the most valuable? I don't know. It was fun.
It's got a great acronym, so
sometimes
that's the most important thing.
Absolutely.
FIP and XFIP. That's what we're talking about.
Yep.
Is
there an XFIP plus with that one as well?
One thing I love about the plus is they add that on there. It's like it's a 100 or above, and 100's the baseline. At least the dummy in me is like, well, this guy's 35% better than whoever than average. That I like that about the plus because it dumbs it down a little bit.
Well, yeah, but it gets confusing when. So we just did a show talking about Nolan Ryan's hitting compared to Shohei Ohtani. It's not a comparison.
It's not really.
I didn't share this stat, but Nolan Ryan, he really, it's jolting when you have OPS plus and Nolan Ryan has a minus 18 in the hitting category. So we're
mine might be better than that. So I don't know.
Oh my gosh! Well,
I think Trevor Bauer had a year where his was like negative 79, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Well, speaking of heartbreak, we're on to the segment of the day, Nelson Cruz. We're going to share some memories here in a moment, but first we're going to take you through the key Nelson Cruz memory that brought us to this point. So you start with
it's a home run!
The home run, World Series, followed immediately by.
No! You have a picture of it,
please, no! No!
Oh, goodness.
No!
The David Freese triple that Cruz misplayed.
The triple.
The triple. So here we are. We're gonna lament about Nelson Cruz again. I got the wine stopper. Wine brings happiness. Nelson Cruz stopped the happiness back then in 2000.
I want to kick it off, but I want to give some stats. So before we get too sad, let's Nelson Cruz's 2011 playoffs were insane.
Yes.
So here's a couple of highlights. The first ever walk-off grand slam in Game 2 of the ALCS. Ross, I think you and I watched that together. Actually,
I believe we did actually.
That was fun. He had the first. He was the first ever to hit multiple extra inning home runs in the playoffs. In the ALCS, he hit 6 home runs, had 13 RBI. Both are records. He had 8 home runs over the course of that whole postseason, which ties him with Carlos Beltran and Barry Bonds. So that 2011 in particular was an incredible run. And then even looking at his stats from age 33 to 38, as he got older, he got better. He averaged 41 home runs. His batting average went up, and his OPS was north of 900 for almost every single one of those 6 seasons. So pretty incredible.
It's ridiculous. I mean, knowing what happened the season after 2012, there's probably some answers to that too. But obviously, it was a different era. So, and the Texas Rangers were ground zero for a lot of steroid use. So it was pretty much the A's and the Rangers, if I'm not mistaken. Anywhere Jose Canseco went.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But
the biggest memory that stands out about that particular play is the fact that he shouldn't have even been in the game at that point. Ron Washington had Andy Chavez, who was a natural center fielder sitting on the bench, who should have been playing right field at that point, who, by the way, through the entire season, he had subbed as a late defensive replacement. Yet in the biggest game of franchise history, Nelson Cruz was playing right field. And so that's the biggest thing that stands out. And you're right, that run in the playoffs was pretty incredible, although the pain of that was made so much worse in the next season when, or I should say, I believe it was 2013, actually, 2 seasons later, when he got busted for PEDs for 50 games. And instead of appealing the suspension and waiting to the offseason to serve it while the Rangers were in the midst of a playoff run, he decided to just take the suspension, and they ended up losing a 1-game play-in game to the Tampa Bay Rays that year, which hurt because they were positioned to make another run, but finished the season very poorly without him. So a lot of pain, very highs and lows when it comes to Nelson Cruz, especially as a Ranger.
Yeah. Well, and you guys understood it to a different extent, as Mariners fans. Anybody will rightly say, look, the Rangers don't make that playoff run in 2011 without him. There's no way because those numbers don't even talk about how much he meant to when you're putting up numbers like that, your team is fired up all the time. And so it was rightly, we never get that far without him. I think the difference, what made it that much worse was the year before we had gotten, it was the first time we'd really won a playoff series, honestly, in 2010, all the way to the World Series. Kind of got trucked out by the Giants, but it was an even year, so everybody knew it was going to happen. Actually, it was the first of their even year World Series, but and then the next year we expected to be there, and it was we were just we're flying, and I have a very distinct memory of, and this is my fault now, about, I don't know, 6 minutes before the fateful play happened, I'm texting Grant going, I can't believe we're going to win the World Series.
Oh no, you tempted me.
And then because I couldn't believe it, and then after that it's pretty foggy actually, because you get that adrenaline high, and then you get smacked in the face, and things get a little bit jumbled after that. So
That explains why you're hanging on.
That's right. That's right.
And still hanging on to that memory too.
Forever age, though. You know, that's why the oldest Red Sox fans really had it the best, because they can just kind of forget it, you know. And then they won the World Series and everything was fine. So
I won a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, well, we can't get you guys out of here without doing a little story time, and we can't do story time without bringing some funk. So here we go. Bringing some funk. What I'd love to hear from you guys from story time is a little bit of a debrief of your performance. How do you feel you did today on trivia?
Well, I mean, I went 1 for 2, and so I'm batting 500 on the podcast. So, you know, I may not have enough at bats to qualify yet, but hey, I feel like if I can keep this up through the remainder of the season, you know, that's an all-star performance. So,
yeah, one game at a time. Yeah, obviously you just gotta get better. Sometimes you gotta swing. Sometimes you gotta, you know, swing for the fences, and that's when you pull Charlie Hough out of your butt, and that's you know, what are you gonna do? But I gotta say that in the you know, compared to say Around the Horn, I feel like I'm better than Bill Plaschke. So I think it was a pretty successful day. So
yeah,
never expected that we'd get a Bill Plaschke reference on.
That's the kind of fire you're going to get from me, man.
I just want to say you know, we're talking old guys here. I feel a lot like Robin Ventura right now.
You feel like you're
in the face today.
You know, I feel like Robin Ventura at you know, 23-year-old Robin Ventura charging the mound against 43-year-old Nolan Ryan and getting absolutely demolished. You know, Robin Ventura played it off like he just got a couple noogies, but you know, the blood tells the story. So anyway, I feel like I pulled both my hamstrings and my face is bloodied. And it's time to sign it off. Like, I mean, from my side, because it's painful right now.
It is, yeah. So we want to wrap it up and say thanks to everybody for showing up today. Aaron, why don't you bring us home here?
Yeah, special thanks to StatHead, MLB on Fox for bringing us all of this information, allowing us to do this show. Today. Again, folks, please like, subscribe, comment below. Let us know your trivia, and we'll bring you on the show if you want to do that. Or you can just let us know what you want us to talk about, and we'll do it. So thanks, everybody. We'll be back at it tomorrow. We'll see you then.